what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to 6 American cities that completely outgrew their British originals. This is a bit of me, honestly. I do find these types of videos really cool, you know, because there are obviously a lot of US cities named after US towns and cities. The one that always comes to mind is Boston. Obviously Boston's one of the biggest cities in the US, and then Boston in the UK. It's just quite a small town. I mean, I don't really know much about it. I just know there's a place called Boston, and it's relatively... It's probably, for a town, it's probably like an average size, but in general, it's like a small area where people live. There's other ones. I always see this place in the US where there's places like Suffolk, Norfolk, and like Norwich, or something, which is obviously more to me. I'm interested in that because I'm from a place called Norwich, which is in a county called Norfolk, and it's next to a county called Suffolk. So you sort of see that, and it's like okay, so you can obviously see where it's come from, but yeah, there's going to be other ones that maybe I don't know about, and yeah, it should be interesting to see how he sort of explains these places. But we're going to check this out. Hopefully, going to enjoy. Hopefully, you're doing well, and let's see these American cities that are bigger than their British counterparts.
Hello. Back when I lived in England, I resided in a total of 3 towns or cities: Grimsby, London, or Lancaster. But after moving to the United States, I realised that all of those places had namesakes on this side of the pond. And given that hundreds of American towns were named for British ones, it got me wondering, did any of them overshadow their British counterparts in size and population? Well, the answer is yes, and today I'm going to infiltrate your brains with 6 such American cities. I should note that I purposely not included New York because it was named for the Duke of York and not the city. Ironic, since the current Duke refuses to visit. Anyway, if you're one of the people that's helped this channel grow to the size of a major city, thanks. If not, do that now.
Here we go.
In the meantime, here are 6 American cities that completely outgrew their British originals.
Boston, the classic go-to.
Let's begin with a place that I visited 20 years ago. Boston, Massachusetts. Home to clam chowder, the Red Sox, and a surprisingly aggressive approach to jaywalking. With a population of nearly 700,000 and a metropolitan area hosting...
From what I've seen of Boston, it just seems like a very beautiful city. I mean, I definitely would like to go there, but just in the winter, I think the weather's a bit extreme, right? It's pretty cold. But other than that, I think it's probably one of the most ideal places to live in the US.
Millions more. This city is the definition of massive, even if the onion sees...
Although it's very expensive. I think that's the drawback, to be fair. It's extremely expensive to live here.
Things differently. Its English counterpart is Boston, Lincolnshire, which sits about 45 miles from where I grew up, or didn't in my case. With a respectable population of 70,000, it's still small enough that you'd probably bump...
It's a decent size, but it's not anything to shout about.
Into the same person twice in one afternoon, and in my experience, it's usually Uncle Toby. Like America's version today, Boston, Lincolnshire was an important port and market town in the medieval period. But by the early 1600s, English Puritans, tired of religious persecution and, let's be honest, the English weather, set sail for the New World, where the weather was even worse. They founded Boston, Massachusetts in 1630 as a tribute to the one in Lincolnshire, not realizing that their little settlement would one day see Americans chuck a ton of tea into the sea. By the 19th century, Boston, Massachusetts had outgrown its English predecessor in more ways than one. The Irish potato famine and the Industrial Revolution brought waves of immigrants, factories, and a booming economy, while Boston, Lincolnshire pretended not to be jealous. Today, Boston, Massachusetts is a global city with universities like MIT and Harvard, and enough Dunkin' Donuts to sustain a small army. And so, when it comes to population and global significance, America's Boston is like a younger sibling who grew up and became wildly successful while still occasionally calling home for advice.
There you go. Newark? I've never heard of Newark in the UK, to be fair.
Newark, New Jersey, the city that everybody knows as the location of that airport that you'd rather not have a layover in. But despite its reputation, Newark is a major urban hub with over 300,000 residents, history steeped in industry, and enough cultural landmarks to at least warrant a second glance. While some historians, including probably Indiana Jones, think it was named for the New Ark of the Covenant, it is more widely believed that Abraham Pearson, a pastor from England, suggested the name because he administered in Newark-on-Trent in Nottinghamshire. Either way, Newark, New Jersey was also founded by Puritans, who were surprisingly okay with the name despite it being an anagram of wanker. While this is what the English Newark is often known for, it's actually a lovely place to visit. I'm an authority on this because I went to a pub there once. However, with a population of only 30,000, Newark-on-Trent, much like Boston, is around 10 times smaller than its American namesake. Given that it also has about a quarter of the space, locals are probably just fine with that. And while we're on the subject of things that were lost in translation, this video review is brought to you
Oh.
by Mondly. The
He
language
secured the
learning app
bag?
that's not just helping me stick to my New Year's resolutions, it's actively
Let's let
making
him
sure
get
that I
his
don't embarrass
discount.
myself. Your New Year's to-do list, Mondly's 96% off lifetime access
Ooh.
deal is here to save the day. Again,
Not
head
too
to
shabby.
mondly.app/lostinthepond. The link is in my description below.
Richmond. When I think of Richmond, I always think of that program, AFC Richmond. What's the show called? The American manager, the American coach who manages a Premier League team. What's it called? I can't remember. But I didn't actually know there's a place called Richmond in the UK. If there is, I'm going to assume it's... I was going to say in London, but it's not, because that doesn't make sense. I don't know.
Richmond, Virginia is a vibrant southern city with almost 230,000 residents. The city played a big part in US history, from Patrick Henry's Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death speech to becoming the capital of the Confederacy during the Civil War. Meanwhile, Richmond, London
Oh, it is London.
is a picturesque town with around just 21,000 people. It's known for Richmond Park, a serene view of the Thames, and houses that nobody can afford. In fact, it was that view of the river that ultimately led to Richmond becoming the name of Virginia's capital. Back in 1737, the city's founder and Brian May cosplayer, William Byrd II, named the city after the English town because he thought the James River looked like the Thames, and I can sort of see it. From the 19th century, Richmond, Virginia grew rapidly, becoming a centre of industry and trade due in part to the proximity of said river. And despite being burned by fleeing Confederates in the Civil War, the city rebounded to become a modern economic and cultural hub. Meanwhile, Richmond, London recently became the scene of an unlikely underdog story, in which an affable soccer coach from America...
There you go.
I've just realised that Ted Lasso isn't real, but Richmond is.
Dover. I didn't think there was a Dover in the US, to be fair. I mean, Dover's a place that you go to quite a lot to get to France. I mean, it's where you go to get to France on the ferry. So it's a spot for travel, a lot of travel in the UK.
I'm just going to say it. Dover, Delaware is completely and utterly a little bit small. How small? Well, let's just say it doesn't even...
Dover in the UK isn't tiny. I think maybe it just seems busier than it actually, like, the actual population is, because there's constantly people from Europe or England travelling between. But I wouldn't say it's tiny. So he's saying that the one in the US is tiny. So I wonder how much bigger it is than the one in the UK.
have as many people as Boston, Lincolnshire. But with 39,000 humans, it is the largest city in Kent County, which is funny because Dover, England is also...
I didn't know this was in Dover. All I know about Dover is the White Cliffs. This is beautiful.
Located in the county of Kent. Dover, Kent is famous for its white chalk cliffs, which have been immortalised in songs, poems, and my Aunt Betsy's grainy Instagram photos. It's also a port town of strategic importance, serving as England's gateway to continental Europe. Dover, Delaware, on the other hand, doesn't have cliffs, or much in the way of memorable geology, but it does have a laser tag. The American Dover was named by William Penn, founder of Pennsylvania, after its English counterpart in 1683. What set Dover apart was its role in early American politics, with Delaware the first to ratify the Constitution. Dover technically became the first state capital in the land. Over the centuries, it developed into a quiet but important city known for government, agriculture, and more recently, NASCAR races, apparently.
Damn. Worcester. There's a Worcester in Massachusetts. Okay, that's an interesting one. I wonder how it's pronounced in Massachusetts as well. Like, would it just be called Worcester, or would it be like Worcester? There's no H, so maybe not. Worcester. How would you say it in the US? I don't know. Because I know Americans. I think Americans, like, in terms of like British pronunciation, a lot of people will struggle to say it, the British pronunciation, because I guess it's just not really a way you would pronounce words in the US. But is it just? I'm gonna say Worcester. I don't know what I'm doing.
And now we head back to
Worcester.
Massachusetts, to a place that the internet thinks Americans don't know how to pronounce. Worcester. Of course, that accusation is often hurled at them by Brits familiar with the English city of the same name.
But to be fair, like, I hear things like Leicester, for example, and sometimes I watch, like, I don't know, Americans doing reaction videos to something to do with the UK, and it'll be like Leicester, or maybe like soccer related reactions, and Leicester are there, and I feel like there's always a word that Americans struggle to say. I just don't think there's maybe many places in the US that have that sort of spelling, so it does make sense. But I guess he's going to disprove what I was saying about the Worcester pronunciation. But yeah, let's just see that.
But Worcester, Massachusetts, with a population of 207,000, pretty much has the same pronunciation. In fact, with this being Massachusetts, many locals even leave off the R like we do in Britain.
Worcester.
But this might be where the similarities end. You see, Worcester, Worcestershire, with its population of 103,000, is almost exactly half the size of the one in Worcester County, Massachusetts. Then again, Worcester County is also something the two cities share, because Worcestershire means Worcester County. Worcester, Worcestershire is famous for its cathedral, its porcelain, and of course, its sauce. The Lee and Perrins factory in Worcester is responsible for the world's supply of Worcestershire sauce, a culinary staple for anyone who enjoys a mouthful in more ways than one. While Worcestershire remained a relatively small city, Worcester, Massachusetts became an industrial hub in the 19th century. Its growth was fueled by immigrants, railroads, and of course, being the place where monkey wrenches were invented. I actually didn't know about that until 5 minutes ago. A bit like this place.
Lynn.
Lynn, Massachusetts may not be the largest or most famous city in New England, but its population...
Lynn. There's a place near me called King's Lynn, but I don't think it's named after that.
...of 101,000 is still more than twice that of King's Lynn in...
Oh, it is. King's Lynn is not too far from me.
England. Despite sharing a name, these two cities have taken very different paths. King's Lynn, originally known simply as Lynn,
Norfolk.
was a major...
There you go.
was a major medieval port located about 30 miles from Boston.
I didn't know Boston was actually that close to me. The more you know. Damn.
Lincolnshire, which, as we described, was itself an important port and market town in the medieval period. It only became King's Lynn when Henry VIII took control of it in 1537. However, he quickly lost interest when he realised Lynn was a piece of land and not a future wife. Funnily enough, the one in Massachusetts has a seaside area called King's Beach, which is nothing more than a coincidence because the beach was named after former Mayor Edward King and not this absolute psychopath. That said, in time, King's Lynn would be completely outgrown by its namesake to the west. Founded in the 1600s, Lynn, Massachusetts grew into a hub of industry, particularly shoemaking. In fact, it was once known as the shoe capital of the world. And even though that industry lost its footing, the city continued to grow thanks to its own proximity to a city called Boston.
Boston. Well, there we go.
At this point, it's time to make the video all about you by telling...
Well, there we go. This is an interesting one. I do enjoy this sort of stuff. Trot, trot to Boston. Trot, trot to Lynn. Watch out, little baby, or you might fall in. A nursery rhyme sung to many a local child while being bounced on a lap and then dipped backwards at the in part. What? Another less wholesome rhythm associated with Lynn. Lynn, Lynn, the city of sin. You never come out the way you came in. What the fuck? Okay. I didn't know Lynn was like such a cultural hub in Massachusetts or whatever. I don't know. The Duke of York was probably afraid of process servers, if not law enforcement. Lawrence, I live in Norfolk, Virginia. I thought I was going to say Norfolk in the UK. Norfolk, Virginia on Lynn Haven River. Oh, shit. Okay, this is mad. This is actually mad. So, Lawrence, I live in Norfolk, Virginia on the Lynn Haven River. My in-laws grew up near King's Lynn in Norfolk, East Anglia. Then I reside a few miles from where Christopher Newport set foot before sailing up the river to find Jamestown. That is so sick. I guess this is 10th generation great-grandfather migrated from Ireland in 1636 as an indentured servant and landed in the Isle of Wight County, Virginia. His descendants lived in and around what would become Norfolk Portsmouth. So this is the place that I always see, the Norfolk Portsmouth Suffolk area, which always baffles me. Norfolk, USA. Images. Because this place, Portsmouth, is there, and then there's Suffolk next to it. I think I've looked at this before, I can't lie, it's probably just the same old, but I swear there's a Suffolk here. So Richmond's here. Okay, this is actually really mad. So you can just see this whole area, Newport. So this whole area, my eyes itch as fuck. This whole area is obviously just like named after a lot of US cities. I guess a lot of people sort of came here from England to start with. Wait. Suffolk. Yeah, Virginia. Whereabouts in Virginia is that? Oh, it's literally next to it. Windsor's there. Okay, this is so mad. I actually do wonder, like, is there like places named in this Norfolk region, sort of similar to like the city that I live in? Probably not. West Norfolk. I mean, that's just the city, isn't it? St Andrews, but I feel like everything's called St Andrews. Plymouth Park. Norfolk crossing. Yeah, it's mad. And now let's go over the pond. Wait, I don't know how long this will take. Actually shows where I am. Probably don't want to do that. Probably don't want to do that. But yeah. On that note, my eye's really itchy now. Yeah, I just find this stuff really cool. To be honest, it's just mad to see how it's just changed over time. I was born and raised in Lynn. Happy to see it mentioned. You left out Manchester, New Hampshire. Yeah, but to be fair, Manchester, New Hampshire. Surely that's not bigger than Manchester, England. Yeah, the Manchester in England is massive, and they've got the best team in the world. So Manchester, New Hampshire is a shithole. I lived here. This video is about places that America did better. It's not about did better, is it? It's just bigger. Maybe they are better. That's what I mean. I wouldn't take that away from them. Yeah, the Manchester one wouldn't make sense. But yeah, there we go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this reaction. And yeah, until next time, I subscribe and peace.